and it's going to do the math so that we don't have to. All right. And we're going to walk through how to make that takes place in the calculator using the data set. Got it? All right. So we're going to clear our calculators. How do we clear? Second plus 712. There we go. We're going to go second plus 712. We're going to clear our data. Okay. They already gave us our y hat, but that's okay. That's not useful if I want the calculator to be able to do all the work for me. Okay. So if I want the calculator to do all the work for me, I have to put this data in and find the regression model for myself. All right. So I'm going to put in all my x values and I'm putting in all my y values. So I'm going to go to stat, edit, and I'm going to put in all this information. So I'm not going to do any talking. You're not going to do any talking. We're just going to get to typing. Got it? So remember, you're putting in the x's first. So try not to get it jumbled as you're typing. All right. Are we ready? Yeah. All right. So now that we have our points in, so you notice that they already found the regression model for us. So we're not going to go through stat, edit, all that good stuff. Well, no, we are. Sorry. They found it for us, but we're going to go ahead and do it ourselves. The reason being is because I want the calculator to be able to do all of the math for me. Does that make sense? Just to make sure we're comfortable doing it. Notice that they rounded to the nearest hundreds. So if I want to make sure I'm getting the exact answer that they got here, I would have to go to mode, and I'm going to have to change from float to 2 decimal places. So I'm going to switch it to 2 decimal places. So I went to mode, float, and I'm going to press enter because I want it in 2 decimal places. So when I run my regression model, it should give me the same value that I got here as long as I did it correctly, correct? So we're going to go to stat, calc, and I'm going to run a linear regression. I want that regression to be stored. Shortcut to storing is alpha trace. If you don't want the shortcut, then you can go to vars, y vars, 1, 1. Okay. But the shortcut to storing it is alpha trace. And I'm going to hit calculate. And I did it correctly because did I get the same values as they did? Yeah, we're geniuses. I knew it all along. Okay. Good job. All right. So now we're going to find our regression points. So we're saying, if I'm using this regression model, what are the values for 4, 7, 10, 13, 16, 19, so on and so forth, okay? I don't want to have to write that over and over. So when I go to stat edit, we're going to go over to L3. You have to actually be on L3, okay? So you're going to go to L3. You know you're on L3 if it's bold, blackened. And now we're going to type in what we want, okay? We want to find, I'm going to try something and I'm going to see if it works, okay? This is going to be my first time doing it, huh? Yes, but I'm trying to see if it'll work. My brain says it should. Because it's going to do the math for me. So I want to be able to find the residual values of all of my L1s. So notice Y1 is my function, correct? Because we stored it in Y1. And I want to be able to plug in all the values of L1. To plug in the values of L1, if you press second 1, it's going to say you want me to evaluate everything of L1. And when I hit enter, guess what it does? It's going to evaluate all those points. Okay, and those are my predicted values. Okay, I'm going to do it again. Okay, we're going to do it all over again. Cool. All right, so I'm going to do it again, Hudson. I'm going to do it again. All right, trust the process. Okay, so here we go. We went to stat, calc. We ran our regression model, correct? When we ran our regression model, we stored it. We stored it in Y1. So that means that this is now locked in as our Y1. Yes? It is stored as our Y1. Agreed? Yes, and it's the same one. Then we went to stat, edit, and now I wanted the calculator to do all the math for me, right? If I'm going to use this thing, I'm going to use it to its full capabilities. So I go to L3. In L3, I am saying I want all of my L1s to be plugged into my Y1. So I tell that by pressing alpha trace 1, and I want you to evaluate L1 for this function, which is second 1. So I'm telling the calculator, hey, I found my regression model. Now I need you to plug in these given X values to find my predicted value. You put in Y1 parentheses L1. Yes. It's not time because it's saying I'm evaluating, but yes. And then it's now, it does, I got 8.43. Yes. Okay, I will have to come and look and see what you did in your calculator. All right. So now to find our residual, all I have to do is I'm going to go to L4, and to find the residual, it's going to be your actual minus your predicted, correct? My actual minus my predicted, which means that it's going to be L2 minus L3. So I have second 2 minus second 3. And it finds my residuals. Yes, we did it in pre-AP Algebra 2. If you had pre-AP Algebra 2. So here are all the values without me having to actually plug in, subtract, plug in, subtract, plug in, subtract, right? Yep. So here are all your values. The points just mean that you understand that they all have the same X value. Does that make sense? So the X values are going to be the same all the way down. So the X values here, it's going to be 4, 7, 10, 13, 16, 19, 22, 25, 28, 31. And then what did you get for your values? Okay. And then again, same thing. Points just means the X values are the same. Or since you understand what points means, you just write what the values are because these are your notes and we just want to make sure we can do it. Okay. How do we feel about allowing the technology? It makes it light work, right? Okay. When we look at our data, we have a pretty even disbursement of our residual values, right? We have a pretty even disbursement of positive and negative. Because of that pretty even disbursement of positive and negative, does that mean, what does that tell us about our residual plot? I mean, about our regression model? That it is it a good or bad fit? It's a pretty good fit, right? And so the data is random, evenly dispersed. So therefore, this is a pretty good fit. Okay. There's no clear signs of the data decreasing and then increasing or increasing then decreasing. You figured it out. Perfect.
How do I do the sig fix for this? Like automatically?
You have to go back to the calculator page. So you go to second mode and then run your stat information from there.
What do you put on the L4?
Oh, you said sig. Oh, mode. Sorry.
Mode?
Yeah. Huh?
What do you put on L4 for the
L4 was your L2 minus L3.
Is it the one that says float?
You would go from float to Or 3 or whatever
Thank you.
you're welcome. All right. How we feel? Is it doable in the calculator? It's doable? I don't want to write all the points down. It's okay if I don't write down the values. It's your notes. I'm not grading them anymore,
Good question.
but it's good practice.
Well, there's no notebook texting.
So you're still,
I just like to get that in writing.
it is. This is optional in your book.
Do we put everything exactly what it says on the calculator? Or can we round some?
It should already be rounded by 2 decimal places.
Okay.
Sad because my notebook pick is like
Oh.
my saving grace.
What are you on about?
Sorry.
What are you trying to?
Okay. So when we look at this, we can see that all of this is doing pretty well. If we wanted to find more, could we keep going? So in algebra 2, we then found our R squared, right? After we found our R squared, we then found our sum. Do y'all remember doing that a little bit? So when we found our R squared, we went to L5. L5, we're now saying we're going to square L4. Hopefully some of this is ringing some kind of bell. And then we would square it, and then we'd find our squared values. Do you remember doing that? Okay, we found those values, and then we wanted to find out what was the sum of the squares. So to find the sum of those squares, again, do we have to do that here? No. But I wanted to remind y'all of, second stat, ops. And we're going to find the sum. So you see where it says sum? So I want to find the sum of L5, so second, 5, and then that would be my residual squared value.
Well, how'd you get to
Okay, we did that. That's algebra 2. Do we have to do that here? No. But to get to sum, second stat math. Yeah. So we went second stat, we went over to math, and we said we want to find our sum, and then second L5, what's the sum? So our sum value would be this. Okay, that's the algebra 2 extension of it. Do we need to do that? But I just want to remind y'all that we did do this before, and it's somewhere in your brain. You just have to dig it up. So at L4, that's our residual. So it's our actual minus our predicted. So our actual is our L2, and our predicted is our L3. So we did, I'll clear it out, second L2 minus second L3. And then it found our values. Yes.
For some reason,
You did it as a distance.
but I don't know.
Okay. All right. Why do we have to do the rest of the notes? Because you feel confident? Oh, well, let me just double check and make sure we're good. All right. So on this part, it's saying that the table below shows the wavelength, X, and the wave speed, Y, of deep ocean waves. So, okay. Explain why a quadratic function would be expected